Hello everyone, this is Mike from Dimensional Walking, and today we are going to do a video that I am going to title Alien UFO, the Blue Delta Moment. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little, and then just for the video, I'm going to put this little bit of a subtitle in it, and it won't appear on the video itself, but the subtitle would be Group Experience, Rewire Event of Human Bonding. Okay, and you'll see why I put that little subtitle on here as we go through. Okay, so one of the most interesting encounters, alien type encounters, uh, has been when I talk to a group of people that have had the same experience. Okay, and most of the time I don't talk to the whole group. I may talk to one or maybe two people in the group, and to get their impressions and let them tell the story. Okay, and normally this would be a encounter in which several people see a UFO within a range of 1,000 feet, 1,000 feet or less. And the reason I say that is it seems like over the years when I'm talking to people and they have an encounter, and I usually ask them, how close do you think you saw the UFO? And a lot of times they'll say, oh, well, within 100 feet or within 10 feet or, whatever the number is. But for some reason, there seems to be this strange tipping point of 1,000 or three. Usually I may even ask 3 football fields, or they'll say 3 football fields or something like that, which would be under 1,000 feet. Okay. Because for some reason, uh, if it's over 1,000 feet, it's really a visual encounter. It's just a sighting. But then it seems like when it's under 1,000 feet or much less than 1,000 feet, it seems to be more of an intimate encounter. Okay, and this and I'm telling you this because after doing this for over, golly, almost 55, 60 years, this is the conclusion I've come into, and I really believe it to be true. So I'm going to give you some examples. I think I have like 3 examples here I want to talk to you about on these multiple witness sightings. And these are all these sightings would be under the 1,000-foot threshold. Okay. And the first one is probably about 40 years ago. We're going back pretty long on this one. I worked for a company. It was a large Fortune 500 company in which the head of human resources one day approached me to tell me a story. I was kind of shocked because I wasn't expecting it. He apparently got word that I had some interest in UFOs, and I had some pretty interesting stories. So he just wanted to relate the story, I guess. And so here's how the story goes. So he lived up in Pennsylvania, and he said this happened during the winter. He was a snowmobiler, and he used to go out with a group of people, and they would do something called bar hopping. And for you people that are in the southern part of the United States that don't have never been on a snowmobile or know nothing about snowmobiles, um, this is a process that people do at night typically. A lot of times they like to do it with a bright moon in the sky, because I've done it with a bright moon in the sky. It's very, very cool because the snow, it reflects off the snow. It's quite light outside when there's a full moon. It's really quite a cool experience, and I've only done it once. But anyways, his story goes is they were doing their kind of normal bar hopping, and there's these little paths, snowmobile paths, that are between these bars in these small towns, or between towns. Okay, and so they would get on these paths and they would go through. But this particular night, they happened to go through this golf course, and I think he said there was like, golly, 22 people. There was at least 11 snowmobiles. It could have been more, but there was at least 11 because typically you do with a buddy on the back. So there was, yeah, that'd be right, 11 snowmobiles, 22 people. But it could have been more. There could have been more. He never specified, but at least 11 snowmobiles. Anyway, so they were doing their thing, and I think this was after the third bar hop. Okay, so they were going along having a good time, and anyways, they went through this golf course, and suddenly they went on the golf course. Or they're going, and when they go through the golf courses, of course, they're using the golf course paths. They're not driving over the greens. They're not driving in the fairways. They're not doing any of that. They have a route that they take, and the people that own the golf courses know this, and they prepare this path for them. So it isn't that nobody's doing anything illegal or etc. This is all up and up, okay? And so anyways, they're suddenly going along, and these lights all around them go on, bright lights, and this lasted for about 5 minutes, and everybody just stopped in their tracks, and they just like froze basically. And after that 5 minutes, nobody said anything to each other. They just kind of like moved on, and they were on their way to their next bar. Okay, when he got to the next bar, they realized that they had been gone an extra hour and a half. They had missing time, basically, is what happened. And they really, when they got in the bar, they did their thing. Some people got sick. Some people felt very, very ill, and they actually called to get people to pick them up and take them home. Not all of them, but quite a few of them. So that was kind of an unusual event right there. But again, they didn't overly talk what happened, etc. They kept on going, and they moved on. And some of them finished their little routes, and they went home. But again, the interesting thing, they really never talked to each other specifically about that night or that event. They talked to other people, but they didn't talk to their event people that were with them at all about it. So anyways, so that was number one. Second example is I had hired, I would say this goes back a good 30 some years ago. I had hired a retired air traffic controller, an Air Force air traffic controller. And he was working on a base in Florida. I'm not sure if I remember the name of the Air Force base. There's several of them in Florida. I think it was up in this particular one was in the Panhandle. And so he's in the control tower with about, I think it was 5 other guys, and they were doing their normal stuff. And one of the guys, air traffic controller, was looking at his radar, and he noticed something kind of strange. There was a cargo plane coming in, approaching the field, and he saw another object that was right behind the aircraft, the cargo plane. And he estimated it was 15 to 20 feet across, but it was right back of it, It was so close to it that nobody in the plane visually could see it. Okay, it would have been impossible. There's no little windows or anything at the back of the plane, okay? It's just, the tail, basically, the tail section. So anyway, so a plane approaches it. They didn't say anything. I believe the story goes they didn't say anything to the pilots. They just let it approach, and they were going to do a visual. So anyways, they told the plane to do a passover, just pass by, and then go back around and come in. And they didn't really tell them why, but I guess that isn't a super uncommon thing to ask to do. Maybe there's some other activity on the ground, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. So anyways, they did a passover, but sure enough, there it was. It looked like a disc, a UFO disc, and again, they estimated about 15 to 20 feet. It was fairly small. It wasn't the normal ship, maybe the scout ship, which usually runs around 30 feet. This one was smaller. But it was right there, and we're going back a long way, so it's not a drone or anything like that. This is way before drones were ever in the vocabulary, okay? So anyways, it passes by, and then the plane approaches again. It's still the UFO is still behind it. But then suddenly the UFO shoots up and ends up over the air traffic control tower. and it sits there, and the guys all run out to the observation deck, and they're looking at this thing, and they're looking at it for, God, I think the guy said 10 to 15 minutes, just kind of looking up and staring at it. Now the plane has landed, the plane landed, but they're just all mesmerized by this thing, and are looking at it, just at awe, I guess. So anyways, they after that's over, they all go back into the tower, and they just start working again. The only complaint they had is they missed their lunch hour. And they don't know why they missed their lunch hour. Okay? And they're just kind of frustrated they missed their lunch hour, and that was it. They didn't really talk about it. That was the end of that story, basically. Now, I think my the guy who worked for me, I think he did say that there was the base had a meeting, and they had to debrief a bunch of people. There was some other commotion that went on. A day later, I think he said. It was really strange. And anyway, so they really never talked about it again. This is another group of people that had an experience that didn't talk about it among themselves. Okay, so that's number 2. Then we're going to do a number 3. And this was about a group of total strangers that didn't know each other. And they go down to Peru, and they're visiting all these sacred sites and having a pretty good time. And so one day they go into this. They're taken into these ancient caves in the mountains of Peru, the Andes, up in the Andes, and they have what they call a blue delta moment. Okay, that's sort of the title of this video. And it's a very similar experience in the other examples I gave you. They're all kind of together, and they suddenly have this missing time event. But this time it's a little bit different. It's a group of people again, though, and they have this missing time event, and they start seeing alien entities and alien beings. And they, I believe, before they went into the cave, they did see a UFO, and it seemed to be under. I think they said it was like 500 feet away. That was their estimate, anyways. And they all saw it. I don't know if everybody saw it this time. I think out of the 8 or 9 people that were there, I think half of them did. But I think the other half had gone into the cave previous and really didn't have the opportunity. But anyways, at least half saw it. They went in the cave, and then they had this experience where they were all seeing aliens, and it was just a pretty profound moment that they had. Interesting thing here again, after it was over, they went out, they went on their merry way, they went to their next event. They really never talked about it again. And that was pretty profound, because I talked to two people I talked to that were in this party. Both of them said the same exact thing. One of them saw the UFO. The other one was one of the other four or five people that went inside previous. But they all had these really strange experiences when they got inside the cave. And at this point, this was years later, they thought it had something to do with that UFO sighting from the outside again. But again, they did not talk about it after the event among themselves for some reason. Okay? Now, here's what the thing that was most common to all three examples I gave you was that all these people, the rest of their life, stayed in touch with each other. Now, again, they didn't talk about the particular event. But my feelings is they were basically, there was a rewiring going on. That's what I think it was. It was actually a rewire. That they were rewired, and that they were, this bonding happened between them while they were having this encounter, an alien encounter of some sort. And this, even though they never talked about it again, they would stay in touch with each other. And I verified this. They stayed in touch with each other for the rest of their lives, basically. And this seems to be a theme that I've noticed. This cosmic bond, as I like to call it, of staying together. even though they don't relate why the cosmic bond, what caused the cosmic bond, basically. But that's been my feelings, and I give you 3 examples. There was many more. There was many more, and on these multiple sightings. And I always said that someday, they'll be going somewhere, hiking or going somewhere, and they will suddenly turn the corner, and they will find each other. They will all be together in one spot, and maybe then they will have the answer why. Anyways, that's my story. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have had any of these similar type of what I call mass sightings and mass bondings or mass rewires, I'd love to hear about them. You can send comments here. You can send it to our email, our private email, basically at dimensionalwalking@gmail.com. If you want, I can share them on another video. But anyways, if you like us, If you want to comment here, please comment. We need your subscriptions, and basically that's it. So happy trails until we meet again. Bye-bye.